Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. I got the morning coffee as always. It's Monday, so it's grumpy
Mhm.
as always. And we got the water again going this morning.
Oh no, there's a lot going on. So I dug into the fridge a little bit. I got a White Claw this morning.
There is a lot going on this morning. No
Yeah,
shortage of headlines, that's for sure. So, okay, let's start with. Man, there's a lot to cover this morning, that's for sure. Normally, like we kind of like go through the
yeah.
headlines before and we're like, like pick ones that we want to like address. There's way too much to address this morning.
No
So let's
shortage this
start
morning.
with this. The matchups that came out, I actually thought this would be our main talking topic this morning, but then other stuff has come about. Um,
Can't be that
Probably the
simple.
worst out of the four, right? I mean, as far as we were talking when the possibilities were there, Trevor, this is probably, I mean, we considered at the time the worst matchup, probably. What do you make of it overall? Let's start with us in terms of getting Real. I know we're sick of seeing them. You would think they're more happy to see us at this stage.
Yeah, except the last time Liverpool actually beat them was in the round of 16. So maybe not happy to see us this early, but uh, I'll save that bit of optimism for February when I'm probably going to need a little bit more. Right now, I'm going to be a little bit of a sulky boy about it. That is, yeah, it is easily the worst case scenario of the four. And everybody's going, well, Byron got PSG, so at least you may not have to worry about them next round. I go, what makes you think that's going to happen either? I, yeah, this was one of those things where you wanted at least the start of the path of least resistance because you knew you weren't going to get a just simple yellow brick road to the final. That was just with the teams in play. That was just not going to happen. But uh, not the opening salvo that we wanted from that draw.
And the weird thing about this draw, I think because of the World Cup, so thanks Qatar once again, but it's kind of hard to tell what's all these clubs how they will be. We're literally talking like 3 months from now, what shape they'll be in, what the squad is going to be, if they're going to add anything, what the injuries will be. So we're looking way far ahead. So I guess to me, Madrid was the the worst one in terms of their strength to me is their midfield and the experience have they have there, and that's our weakness. So I think that's where I kind of go with it. I mean, if you look back, I mean, you go back to the final, really, apart from Courtois standing on his head, we probably easily win that in some ways. But this is not the same team that played the Champions League final as is right now.
No, and I feel they've really blended their youth with their experience exponentially better than than we have tried to at least. Mostly because most of their guys aren't dead, and that always helps the gelling process when the people that you want to gel are actually available to play. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just sit there and you go, you try to like talk yourself into it, and if they go through, I'm gonna watch both legs and I'm gonna be fucking rooting. But that's one of those things where you're like, man, couldn't you have just kind of frozen the ping pong ball for 1 second and just gave us fucking Porto?
Yes, I would
Get
have
you,
definitely
you can
liked
give
an
us
easier route.
yeah, give us one moment of joy this season, and yeah,
You just had a moment of joy this weekend, which I kind of figured we would touch up on, but there's so much to get to. Hopefully, we'll get to some of the weekend stuff and some of the other non-LFC headlines from this morning as well. So we'll get that. Alan says the FSG said the club was up for sale after they saw the draw, which we'll get to that next because I think. I know there's a lot to digest
yeah,
in that story as well. But going back to the matchups over here, so Leipzig City gets what I consider to be probably one of the easiest ones there, right? In terms of like matchups. Club Brugge gets Benfica, so I guess we might maybe get like an easy one in the next round. Out of that matchup, they had to be extremely happy with that. Us, obviously. Milan and Spurs. Who do you put on that one? That's a tough. That's like a really even matchup too, I think.
Yeah, I think the fact that Spurs has the second game at home will kind of give them a bit of an advantage, but that's one that you could really see it go like 3-0 in each of the home thing, and then just the second leg need that extra time. Uh, yeah, that should be one of the funner matchups of the round, I think.
I think
That
so as
and
well.
that and Dortmund Chelsea, because I personally think PSG Bayern is going to be more of a slog than people want to give it credit for. They think two great teams are just going to go out and put on a showcase. No, I think either Bayern is going to drag them through the mud and just show everybody that PSG is still, after all this investment, not ready to be primetime players, or it's going to be two games that are just absolutely dog shit to watch.
It will be, yeah. I mean, it's a matchup that if it's not kind of like the same time as ours, you'll definitely be watching that one, I would think. But yeah, I like to. I mean, going down the list, Frankfurt, Napoli, that should be an easy round for Napoli, I think.
Yeah.
So you'll see Napoli in the next round. Dortmund, Chelsea is a close one. I think that's going to be an interesting one. And yeah, I would like definitely keep an eye on that one. Inter Milan, Porto, uh, that can go. That's another one. That would be actually, like you talk about how PSG and Bayern, obviously the names are there, but I would almost expect the Inter Milan Porto game a bit more fun to watch in terms of like the pace and stuff like that. Because I would think that's going to be like a ridiculously obnoxiously open game in some ways. Because that's how Porto plays as well. And then obviously PSG Bayern is the big one out of this, aside from us. I would not, I'm not too happy about being one of the bigger matchups in this round. I would have been totally
Yeah.
happy taking Porto and have freaking Inter Milan deal with Real or something like that. But it is what it
Here we are.
is. Let's do classic BS media stuff. Give me some percentages like of going to the next round.
All right. If I had to, I'm gonna just take us out of the equation because I can't do that objectively. Uh, City roll Leipzig, Benfica get by Bruges. I'll say Spurs because they're at home in the second one. Napoli rolls Frankfurt. Chelsea wins a close one with Dortmund. I'm gonna go with Porto in the upset of Inter because I like you said
Hmm.
they will play open and force Inter to play their game, and I don't know if Inter has the capabilities to play that over two legs, especially in Portugal. And I think Bayern is going to beat PSG.
Good one. I'm almost like
Lots of home
hoping
teams for me.
Bayern beats PSG just because I can't stand a lot of the characters in PSG. I used to like Mbappe, and now like I find him aggravating, annoying as well. The whole like the attitude overall. But Neymar is there, so automatic. It doesn't matter who else is there anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna root against PSG. I would probably say Milan over Spurs. I think in that matchup as of now, and that's the biggest thing is all of these we're kind of looking at the matchups in our head, obviously, as of now, the squad. So it's kind of like hard to tell what's going to happen in like 3 months over here. You don't know World Cup injuries, who's going to come back healthy and then here's another thing, like not only coming back
Yeah.
healthy, who's going to come back in form almost
Yeah.
after World Cup and starts like right at some teams that are really. I mean, we look at, for example, Napoli, right? You almost assume Napoli is going to come back after the World Cup and keep rolling. You never know. Sometimes the form can change. So a team that looks like can go
Yeah.
almost all the way to the final now might not
A lot of a
come.
lot of Napoli's big guys aren't going to the tournament though. They got a lot of Italians on that team. Oshiman's Nigerian. They're not going. The Georgian kid, obviously,
Yep.
Double K ain't going. That's
But that's the thing, though. Does that necessarily help? That's what I'm not like that. We're gonna, I guess,
I
find out and
yeah.
see. Like, is it
It's
better
it's
for your guys to be out there competing, playing? I know they're getting minutes, but they're also like playing games. as
Yeah.
opposed to guys who are not getting minutes, keeping fresher legs, but they're not playing games. So it's kind of hard to gauge because we
Yeah.
never had this
There's
crap
one.
before.
Yeah, there has to be a balance struck. I just don't know which way.
So the next biggest news, right? So this came this morning. Obviously, anybody who's kind of into the FSG out crowds probably got a bit more excited than maybe they should. But what do you make of the story about? First of all, the story is not totally that they are selling. FSG is selling,
Yeah.
but kind of like almost entertaining the idea, which in most news, I mean, it's not news, right? You would think that's at any given time, any business is going to be open to somebody coming in and asking something. I almost like I was talking about the Discord channel this morning. It's almost like the trades markets, right? If somebody, yeah, we're always listening for trades. We might not do them unless they're over the top obnoxious. But yeah, we're always listening to offers. What do you make of that entire story?
Yeah, I think it's something where uh, they put out a headline that was a bit deceiving, and something where they're putting the team in the shop window, but they haven't put a price tag on it, which means that yeah, anything can technically be for sale if you really think about it. As horrible of a concept as that is, it's, there's always somebody that's going to have a price for something, and they're they seem to be not necessarily panicking, but in that state of, well, Newcastle has endless funds now. Chelsea seems to have a guy who will spend just as much as Abramovich and has more people that want to come over and throw their money at things too. So it's not just one guy's money. In City, we all know that also that's a pot of gold that never runs out either. So getting more wallets in seems to be what they're really looking for. But when you get that investment in, eventually there's going to be guys that are going to come in and go, no, I want more than you. I'm coming in. I'm going to be the white knight. My ego is taking over. You guys can do whatever you want, but I'm going to come in and start just buying people out and then do it my way. And that can come at you fast. Once you open the, yeah, it's the old fox in the hen house. Once you go like, okay, we want more people in and more investors, and we want to kind of like get more ideas, but mostly money in play, you're just setting yourself up for some guy to just kind of like hostile takeover at any moment. And for a football club, that can cause a lot of fucking distress. That can come at any time, really.
See, here's my thing. That was my initial reaction. I wonder if FSG is like, man, fuck this. There's no way to compete over here. We'll stick with sports where there's a salary cap. But at the same time, it's ultimately a business and it's still profitable, it's still gaining value. So I don't know if they even care about that aspect of it. Do you think they care that, they're competing against pretty much like countries at this stage, thanks to how Premier League is kind of like approving stuff? So, I mean, or do they even care? Because at the end of the day, like I say, it's a business for them that is gaining value at all given times. The way the Premier League is, I think any club is gaining constant value. You don't even have to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Or they basically did all they could in terms of increasing that value through investment in the club, like the stadium and things like that. And they feel like it's a good time to sell. Or going back to what you were talking about, Chelsea, they want something like that where they want a couple of other people with wallets in there to be able to compete regularly. And they're like, yeah, there's no way we can go out and get Bellingham and get this, get that too. We need more investments to make it still like profitable. So they're almost asking for more wallets to come in. And I know what you're saying in terms of, anybody with that big of a wallet probably has that big of a just as big of an ego and they don't want to be a part owner, but at the same time it's a business ordeal, not necessarily. I think we're thinking of it like somebody who's going to come in and be really invested, like some of these like owners from like, like Saudi Arabia and stuff like that, because this is their passion. But I think for somebody who is just the business, I doubt FSG people are watching like a championship game or whatever is on TV for soccer. That's not their thing. They're more in it for the business part of it.
Yeah,
I know I asked like
and
3 questions at the same time, but you know what I mean.
no. I get it. It's yeah, they are businessmen first and foremost, and you see it through all their ventures. They'll go to wherever they are, and they'll go sit up in the luxury boxes, and if anybody tries to like get a statement out of them about anything, it's always very vague, and it's always there's that yeah the key word I think what you were saying about this is passion of it. They don't have that for any of this. They are looking to expand their wealth, and these have become tools to do that. And if this is something that they've finally decided they got to pull the parachute on it, and uh, they're going to turn 300 million into 3 billion, and then they go start again somewhere else, maybe that's what they do.
But maybe they're just looking for a wallet that's like them, because
Yeah,
that would kind of take away the, what you're talking about in terms of like wanting full power and stuff like that. Just another guy with a big wallet to say, you know what, that is a good investment. What did you guys make? 300 to 3 billion? Yeah, I'm in. What do you got going over there? If I came to you and said,
yeah.
well, you probably wouldn't do it with me because it would be like a shady scheme, but I'm like, hey, Trevor, I got this thing going. You put one, you get 10 back. I mean, it would sound like a pyramid scheme to you, but I would assume coming from FSG, it's a bit more legit. So
Yeah,
you're like, hey, you want in? They're like, yeah, I got some money laying around. I want in on this investment, and yeah, you guys are gonna run it though, right? Because I don't even want too much part
yeah.
of it. I think
I
it
mean,
should be
yeah.
easier to find people like that
And
for
yeah,
FSG.
and that, yeah, you got to find those guys that just want to be money men and go. I'm seeing what you guys are getting for turnarounds on investments, and I don't want to I don't want to show up at Anfield. I don't want to wear a scarf. I don't want to have to answer questions about transfer policies or what formation we're playing. I want you to take this, let's say, just 20 million and turn it into 40 in a time frame that you tell me it will. And if you can find enough people like that, you can kind of that's where you can get your investment in. And yeah, I
Because
and
the
what was
statement is, here's the thing, like it's not like, hey, it's up for sale. Like this club must go or something like that. It's
yeah
more about number of recent changes in ownership, rumors of changes in ownership at EPL clubs, which basically is what we were talking about earlier. Regularly, people are constantly asking if we're going to sell too. Expressions of
yeah
interest, third parties seeking to become shareholders in Liverpool. So it's, to me, that becomes more of they want other wallets in there. They're not looking to sell, because I think maybe they're looking at it as, if we had more wallets to invest more, we would even make more.
yeah and I understand that front, but my thing with the statement is these guys get asked questions all the time, and there's going to be things that come up, and you're like, okay, what does every team that exists now have to make this statement that they've had people come and ask to like get in now? I understand what the necessity for it was. Yes, there's the piece where Ornstein came out and he's like, yes, this is a thing where they kind of put like the sales deck available, and this is what they're offering, and this is what they want to let up in terms of not necessarily power, but like spots on spots at the table, what's available. And it's just it seems like they were just going, okay, this is what's on the menu. You're not buying the restaurant, and a lot of people just kind of like skip that and go, oh man, they're yeah, it's one of those things where I think it's like you said, getting the right people in so you don't have that potential takeover down the line where you got just the two Rams clashing together, going, "No, this is my team. You you let me in, and now if you want my money, then we have to have this discussion and so on and so forth, because those never end well in sports and business, in life. And I think, but if you get guys that you were speaking of hey, make my money grow, and just tell me when the dividends are coming, and I'll just go sit over here and hang out in Fiji or whatever, that's fine by me. Those, if those are the people that are coming in, it's just got to be, it's going to be complicated. It's going to be a long process, and it was coming from probably an innocuous question that one guy heard and go, "Oh wait, you guys are putting stuff up for sale," and instead of just going, "Dude, it was a throwaway question during the thing. Everything's always for sale. We're always open to listening." No, they had to like put like a formal statement out with it and go and all this stuff. It it was just a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
like
hot
the
air
whole
for no
the
reason.
tone of it. Like I don't know why it kind of constantly reminds me of like a general manager in American sports saying, "No, that we're not thinking, but obviously, we'll listen if people come up," kind of deal.
Yeah,
And maybe this news is coming out now because there is potential people, and I mean, obviously, maybe FSG is getting it out there to see if they can make the offer better. I mean, for that, they're basically doing the groundwork to be able to do it. And I don't see why they wouldn't do it. Because, like I say, I mean, maybe they're thinking if you get more investments and more people coming in with wallets, you think 300 to 3 billion is good. We can make that even better if we had like a couple of other guys dumping some money in this whole thing. So it's going to be interesting what comes out of it. I'm sure there'll be more statements today to kind of see if they're doubling down on this, or it goes back to what you're saying, where they're like, dude, somebody asked, so we had to put the statement out because people kept freaking asking, kind of a
yeah,
deal. Or maybe there's something in the works and they're, like I said, like laying the groundwork for it. But it's here's the thing. I mean, this FSG out crowd who has been around forever, who, I mean, to me, it's mostly, I mean, they've done some stuff that's jacked up, and in most cases, they've kind of like backed out of it. You can kind of argue that they backed out of it due to the pressure, or maybe they've seen their ways were wrong or whatever. One way or the other, though, they've seen the right way and they're kind of like backed out of it. My biggest fear is a lot of these fans are fans that talk from both sides of their mouth, and they want,
mm,
they talk about, Liverpool ethics, the club culture, blah blah blah, and then at the same time, while trying to like make it look like they don't like FSG because they like these values, at the same time from the other side of the mouth, they be all over having an owner like City or PSG or Newcastle, and that, don't worry about the ethics and the city culture and stuff like that. Then I think that's the crowd that kind of like frustrates me the most, because you can't have it both. You can't criticize the current ownership because you feel like, oh, they're all about the money and stuff, but then say, well, why can't we sign this guy, that guy, that guy? Oh, that guy's going to spend the money, that's okay, whatever he does. It's kind of like the Newcastle fans now. I'm sure they're extremely happy with what the team is doing, but I'd be very worried, man, if something like that happened down the road. Because as much as, yes, it would be nice to get that guy, this guy, that guy, and be in the talk for all these big money signings and stuff, but it would feel a little dirty if I'm at the same time a fan of a team that has that kind of an ownership.
yeah, and you always got to kind of look at it with that lens of what. Yeah, you can preach about your values and the hardworking team of the people, so on and so forth, but then you have to actually just be about it when it comes to it. And yes, the FSG group is not salt of the earth people. They are not uh, pick you up by your bootstraps. Let's put every other blue collar uh, mannerism and catchphrase that I can in the next 30 seconds to kind of just say what they're not. But it is something where, yeah, there's no like Liverpudlian billionaires just hanging out. If there were, they probably would have gotten the team when it was up for sale from Hickson,
Yeah,
all
it
those
wasn't
guys.
as attractive then. No.
Yeah, it was something where when that last fucking shit show of a regime was on their way out, that if there was people in place that had those values and had the money, they would have probably come forward. But this was what we got, and we're making the most of it. I think in terms of just not necessarily like crying poverty, but recognizing that the reason that these clubs have huge bankrolls is because it's Middle Eastern oil money. It's a sovereign wealth fund. For years, it was a Russian oligarch.
Yep.
And you're going, okay, you can just take those situations out of the equation, because if you want that, then, like you said, everything that you are bitching about these guys, these money guys, at least it's not.
And
Yeah, they're about money, but they're not about like genocide money or like
or like, yeah, chopping heads and stuff like that. Alan
yeah,
says maybe
they're
Hicks
not
and Gillette
they're
would
not
be
about
interested.
journalism murder, both
Yes.
figuratively and literally.
Yes, chainsawing people into pieces. Different country of all places, but I mean, Alan, there's enough oil money to go around. I mean, there's more guys out there with like money they don't know what to do with. So it's going to be, and that's the thing. Like, you can't have it both ways. I feel like this is probably the best combination. While would I like it if they were a bit more into investing in the squad part of thing, but at the same time, they've invested a lot in the club. And I know people don't see that immediately, but you would think the people bitching about it most would see the most people who go to the games and stuff like that, because the way they've improved the stadium, the club as a whole. I mean, so they can't win right now. And I think that's partially the American bias, to be honest with you, because if somebody who was from Liverpool. I mean, if they can find somebody with that much money in Liverpool, I know there's oil money in Liverpool, unfortunately, to be able to buy clubs. But if it was somebody from Liverpool doing it, it would be more about caring about the club and the city and investing and stuff like that. I think when an American ownership is doing it, it's looked at it as like, they're only doing it to increase the value so they can sell. And those
Yeah,
people are going to say, now, well, see, I told you guys they want to sell. That's the only reason they were. I mean, okay, so which one is it? And that's the part of the fan base that really frustrates me, and is be careful what you wish for. But those same people will not care, and they will back from their words when we get like an
yeah,
oil person walking around with a chainsaw, but at the same time, Bellingham is carrying one of the chainsaws on his way in, kind of thing. They're gonna be okay with that. Alan is waiting till he wins the Powerball. We already started a GoFundMe on American Scouser to see if we can put something together to maybe buy like one of the doors or something like that in the club, because I don't think we can afford anything else all put together. There's a lot of other headlines to get to, but um real quick, let's do a tour over here, and then probably tomorrow we can kind of like go into bits more of like some of these stories and stuff over this weekend. I know we always make fun of it. We were just talking about it last week about how it's going to be, it could possibly be the biggest thing coming. Is Major League Soccer is going to be one of the top leagues in 4 years. We were joking about that, but I caught the only reason I actually turned it on is I was looking at the phone and I saw the score. I saw it was an overtime, so I turned the game on for the Major League Cup final. What is it called? MLS Cup,
MLS
right?
Cup. Yeah,
MLS Cup. And when I turned it on, they were basically looking at the goalie with the ref in the red card in his hand. So I kind of put the pieces together and saw what happened. But the rest of it was great drama. I don't know if you watched it or if you watched the whole game or whatever, but I don't know about the quality of the sports, like of football being played, and I don't know if because it was overtime, it was really like spotty. But entertainment value wise, it was up there.
yeah, and it was one of those things. Or I caught the about the same part of the game as you did, because it was one of those things where you're just kind of out and about and you kind of forgot it was on, and then you go, oh crap, the goalie just got sent off. A broke his legs.
On his way out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Well,
it was, and
well,
then the
Bickler,
other goalie
it's either
comes
that or
in.
Ralph Hasenhudel. How do you want to close it?
Yeah, I guess we can go with that because I want to talk about this whole the Major League Soccer thing more tomorrow because I thought it was like an unreal deal. Like then they get scored on down 10 men, and then LAFC comes back. Bale scores in like what is like 925th or whatever the hell it was, and then they go to penalty kicks. The dude that comes off the bench, who I guess was apparently from like the youth setup of Philly, I think he pretty much saved every penalty. Even if he didn't save it, at least, like he didn't get scored on. It was just like a crazy story overall. And I was like, what the hell? But like I say, it was definitely entertaining to watch in that sense. And so as I dig out the headline over here, Southampton changes managers. I'm not too thrilled about the timing, but as Mecca was talking, we said the same thing before the Leeds game where we were, Bickler says we're talking Major League Soccer, man. Times are tough. Hey, man, you missed the good stuff. We talked a lot about Liverpool. These were just like hitting the headlines on the way out. Even Bickler would have enjoyed the last 10 minutes of that game, I would think. But Southampton hasn't hustled. What do you make of that? Good timing for us, bad timing for us, knowing we're playing him next weekend.
I don't think there's going to be a new manager bounce this close to a lengthy break. Maybe if this was like 2 weeks ago, I would have kind of had a bit more trepidation about it. But I think they're just gonna go out with a whimper into the World Cup break. That's a team that is. We talked a couple weeks about how rough it was to watch Wolves try to score goals. Man, Southampton. I hadn't seen many of their matches this year, but it's rough. It is rough.
Wolves have figured out how to score. Now they can't figure out. They forgot how to stop people, so that's their problem there. Bickler
Yeah.
says never that he will enjoy. Honestly, it was more of a, I don't know, like turning it on and watching. I don't know, name a sport. Maybe like actually kind of like volleyball, but it was like an oddball. It could have been any sport. In terms of like the Major League Soccer final, it could have been any sport. It didn't have to be soccer at the time. Just the whole drama of it unfolding was more the exciting part. I wasn't like, oh, what great soccer being played. These guys are good kind of a thing. It was more about seeing the drama there. And it's going to be, we'll talk about it more. I don't know if this makes Major League Soccer the best league in 4 years or whatever.
Yeah, 4 years.
But in some
red
ways,
cards from goalies and yeah, that's the wave of the future right there.
I mean,
we need more goalies breaking their legs. That is the key to getting in the youth.
Honestly, for American sports, yeah, like more vicious stuff happening could be something to attract people. I'm sure Major League Soccer just loved the whole aspect of it just because of, the drama and stuff like that. Does it help? I don't know. I guess my hope is if you can get somebody, hopefully like Bickler eventually get interested as well. If you can get like hopefully more people interested in it, maybe then the quality will go up. Because I feel like in this country, increasing the quality of the field on the play is not going to really affect fandom. I think it's the other way around. If you increase the fandom, maybe it will eventually increase the quality that you see on the pitch with the more players coming in and stuff like that. But I don't think people know about the sport enough to say, oh, I'm going to watch it now. They're playing much better. That's not really the situation right now. Getting more people in it is probably the thing. Well, Trevor, quite the morning. Normally, Monday mornings is more like a Premier League weekend wrap up. We couldn't even get to that stuff, and there was some stuff to talk about.
But to go with the claw.
There'll be the podcast tonight. I am a game time decision as of now, but Gally and Bickler will definitely be on there at our regular time live over here on American Scouser on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter. And then Trevor and I will be back tomorrow morning with more headlines and more confusion. Hopefully there'll be some follow-up to stuff we talked about today. So have a great, I know it's Monday, but hey, make the best of it. Have a great Monday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.